members here. Oh, there's Ann Martin, one of our town council members. Thank you for being here. But on behalf of the chamber and the town, we are just so fortunate and lucky in this community. We have a vibrant community with wonderful businesses, wonderful nonprofits, and wonderful human beings. And I say human beings because we're talking about AI today. This is totally a human connection. But we have an incredible panel, and many of you, just a show of hands, who uses AI every day? Okay. A show of hands, is anybody I don't even know what this is, I just want to learn today what this is. Oh, we got a couple, okay, we got a couple of this. I think you're in for a wonderful, wonderful treat. Let me kind of give you a little housekeeping. The restrooms are out, right out the glass doors, over to the right-hand side of the building. Of course, breakfast I mentioned earlier. Our format today, we're going to let our panelists tell you who they are and what they do with their respective companies. Then we have a list of questions. Some of you all submitted some questions. We have some questions that we're going to let each panelist do. And then each panelist is going to have an opportunity to do a presentation for you that kind of zeroes in on things that they are doing. And then, of course, we'll end it with an opportunity for you all to ask questions. And I think we're probably okay if you really have a question before we take the questions at the end, you could do that too. So, Melody, I'm going to let you kick the first part off.
All right, so I don't want to steal their thunder because we're all here to learn about AI, right? Not to hear about me talking about the town. So let's kick it off. Let's start with a quick intro. So if you all would like to go down the line, maybe just give a 2-minute introduction of which company you're with, what your role is with AI. I think that'd be a good starting point.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me. My name is Nicola Smith, and I am a Senior AI Programs Advisor at Southwest Airlines. I help to lead AI strategy, literacy, and enablement across our organization for our almost 70,000 employees and the millions of customers that we serve every year. At Southwest, we really believe that AI has the power to amplify human potential, and we're very focused on leveraging AI to remove friction from our employees' day-to-day work and from our customers' lives when they're traveling with us.
This is Ramesh Ramaduri, Professor of Electrical Engineering at the University of North Texas. First of all, I wanted to say...
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Okay, all right. So, first of all, I wanted to say it's a beautiful day and beautiful city and beautiful people. So I'm a professor at UNT for the past 16 years, and overall I have about 3 decades of experience, and the technologies, we see technologies evolving in front of us. I'm also co-founder of N Square AI Academy. So today, AI is part of our lives, and it already became a part of our lives. As you see, many people said they are already using AI. So we'll discuss how you are using and what can you do to make AI work for us. And my expertise is in the unmanned aerial vehicles. So my latest research is how to use AI in the airspace. So we have some commonalities here too. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a wonderful day, and thank you for coming. Yes, I hope everybody's able to. Thank you for coming this morning for all of us over here and enthusiasm towards AI. And thank you, Doug, for calling me over here. I appreciate it. My name is Ravina Alampadi. I'm the Senior Director, Practice Director for Data and AI in HCLTech. I was working with Doug for 2 years in CBRE. I just moved into a new role as a Senior Practice Director. I've been in the industry for the last 20 years, developing products, leveraging artificial intelligence for different industries. retail, healthcare, multiple industries. So I've been very fortunate enough to work very long time in AI and actually see evolve the maturity of AI and how people are using it. I think it has become a part of our lives, in fact. And I think there's nobody who doesn't know about AI, right? Even the children. So, but it's a wonderful opportunity, and I'm also a startup this month. I think it's a privilege for me to say that I'm launching a startup company, a biotech company called Addy Labs for rare diseases, for precision medicine. We're working on precision treatments for rare diseases. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Wow, what an esteemed panel that we have, and I know that y'all are anxious to get right into this. We're going to start very, very basic, and we'll just go down the line. The first question we have is, how would you describe AI in the workplace to someone who is completely new to this concept or this process? What is this?
Yes, I think the general terms in the workplace, right? It is, we are leveraging it to solve problems. That's where I would like to start, right? Organization industries are struggling. They are struggling with multiple problems, and we are looking forward. How can we leverage technology to ease our problems, to make it easy, to improve our efficiencies, to improve our productivity every single day, right? And if you look at it, AI in the workforce, the number one problem, I can just give a small example, is the information. How many of you think that today we are overloaded with lots of documents, information in the organizations? It's overwhelming information. We want information at our fingertips. When we ask questions, just like ChatGPT, we want information even in our organization with overwhelming information in files, folders, databases. So that's exactly one of the problems we are trying to solve, is how do we even get the information handy to the employees so that they can improve their productivity. So that's one of the problems just to mention with. But definitely AI in workforce has been trying to leverage data and the technologies like artificial intelligence, the ways where we can improve the employees' productivity. And there are many tools that have come. Microsoft, how many of you are leveraging Microsoft tools? How many are Google? And there are big players in the market who are already leveraging the ready-to-go tools for everybody on a day-to-day basis, where we can actually use this information handy. I think we're going to talk more about it, so I'll let others as well. Go ahead.
All right, so I think I will pick on where Navina was mentioning. First thing is, AI is for everyone. Whether you are a beginner or a student or a professional, AI can help you in your job. And Navina mentioned about productivity. So first thing is, increase your productivity. For example, you want to write an email, or you want to do some research on some product. So you can quickly get help with simple things like ChatGPT to start the template. It at least gives you a template and gives you a few pointers, and then you can work on it. So whether you are writing, for example, a job announcement, or some marketing, you want to market your product. So the very first thing you can do is use simple tools like ChatGPT, and then come up with the outline and then start working on it. The second thing is, even you are like a researcher, like a student, there is a tool called Perplexity, many of you might have seen. It will do a detailed research actually. It gives you a list of papers. There are a few limitations, and we will talk about them later. But the key thing is, AI is for everyone. It gives you the information that you need for a specific things, very accurately, very precisely. But then you have to validate the information. Okay? So basically, I wanted to say AI is for everyone.
Yeah, so I would build on that. I would say AI is both a tool and a collaborator. There are a lot of different ways to use AI, and the best way to figure out how it's going to work for you and your business is to start experimenting. One of the things that I tell folks a lot is it is not a holistic replacement for humans, and I don't see it being so in the near future. So we'll talk about this a little bit more, but one of the best ways to use it is to look at your existing workflows and processes, break that down into individual tasks, and figure out which of those tasks AI is actually good at doing, and then really build it into your workflow. There's a recent stat, I believe from McKinsey, that only a quarter of AI initiatives are actually delivering the ROI that was expected. And that is because companies are not fundamentally changing their processes when implementing these tools. And you are missing out on the true value if you're not rethinking not just how to insert this tool into your work, but really thinking about how you reshape work using these tools. And I'm sure we'll go into some more details as well.
Well, just to follow up on that, and that's a good segue in, what are some practical ways that our small and medium-sized businesses can start using today? Some practical ways that our small businesses can start today. They can leave today and use this.
So to begin, I would say look at your organization and look at places where you have a lot of repetitive tasks, things that you or your employees are doing day in and day out the same way over and over again. That's a signal that AI might be a tool that could help you within that process. Outside of that, I would also say anything where you have existing templates that you can leverage, you need existing data if you're going to be using generative AI, and anywhere where you have a high risk of human error because you're doing things like copying and pasting from one document to another. Those are all places where AI, and specifically generative and agentic AI, can really help. And then, beyond that, there are some things that AI is particularly good at. It's great at summarization. It is great at creating content. It's great at analyzing data and being able to pull insights from that data. So really look at places within your business, within your workflows, where you have those sorts of tasks, and look at applying AI there. And again, experiment. Figure out what really works for you and your organization, because it's going to be different depending on how you operate, who you serve, who your customers are, who your employees are. So don't feel like you have to replicate what other big brands are doing in the market. Really think about how you personalize it for your own company, your own business, or even your own team.
I'll piggyback on the topic of repetitive tasks. I think that's the key in your workplace. Whatever you're doing repeatedly, that is where AI can help you. For example, in my school at UNT, we talked to a few people and see how they can use AI in their workspace. So an example is if you're writing advertising an event on the campus. So it takes time actually, even to write a memo like that, it takes time. So that is something that people do all the time. So that is one place you could use. The second topic is about getting insights from data. Just be mindful that the data, whatever data you are sharing with these tools, they will be going to some cloud. So make sure that you are not sharing any private information, for example, student IDs in my case. So with somehow you need to anonymize that and then share the data, so that way you can understand the trends and you can see what kind of patterns you see and what kind of anomalies that you can find. I think these are the places that you can actually benefit from.
Wonderful. I think great points they have brought it up, but definitely today I want to recommend one of the couple of tools where you can just immediately take home and can start using it. How many of you know the generative AI and agentic AI? You hear new terminology. How many of you are aware about it? Okay, anybody the difference between generative and agentic?
Tell us.
Yes, so definitely generative AI these are the new technologies. Each day you're leveraging new technologies. They're trying to see how you can improve your efficiencies as we mentioned, right? They're making it easier for you. So generative AI, last year, 2 years, you've seen a lot of buzz around the generative, like even when you're typing your email, the next letter, the next word, it's able to generate, it's able to understand what you're able to type, because the models have been trained so much with the information and the data that now it knows what your next word is, right? Because that's how it's able to predict the next word. So that it's able to generate the content, it's able to generate analytics for you, right? Those are the generative, but it's not actionable, right? For example, ChatGPT is able to give you information when you ask for, but if you want something autonomously, you want an action to be taken place, like an assistant who can say, hey, go and book my flight today to New York. And it just gives me an option of, if it is a generative AI, it gives me an option of, between the two options, hey, here are your flights. But I want my AI to go ahead and book a flight for me, actually, to New York, and give me a reasonable price, and also the different routing where I can able to choose. So the beauty of agentic AI, these agents that are creating, is where it autonomously can actually create, it's an actionable insights, right? You can actually generate information for you, provide insights for you, and also it can take an action for you. For example, in the flights, it can actually go and book a flight for you, and it can book hotels for you, restrooms for you, right? Like what restaurants, any information you ask for, it can actually do the work for you. Even the processes, which is like repetitive processes, information they have talked about it can autonomously, in fact, for your organization, these agents have the ability to take an email, write an email for you, and even send it out the email for you. So those are the new agentic. You will be hearing a lot of information about these agentic technologies. So what is the best way? One of the problems I talked about is the information which, you like summarizing emails, or asking questions from your documents, or able to create your own agents. One of the tools is Microsoft Copilot Studios. You can right away go ahead, use this technology. It's, I think it's a very pretty minimal fee, and also they have like a free service as well, where you can subscribe it, where you can connect to your repository. You can connect to your information, whether it could be sitting in documents or whether it could be sitting in a database. You can simply create an agent that can go ahead and connect to this repository. Now you can train your agent with your prompts, saying what your agent would actually want to do. Think about it like an assistant, and say, hey, I want summarization of the documents from this. I want this agent to be trained as a researcher so that it can go ahead and do a research for me, and give the information, the sources of information where you want the research to be done, whether it is from websites or whether it is from different sources. So Microsoft Copilot Studio has one of the tools where it is very, very important, where on a day-to-day tasks, whether it is at your workplace or it is in your personal day-to-day tasks, you can actually use this information tool and leverage it and improve your productivity.
Wow. Well, now that we've covered what AI can do, and which is a huge, wide scope, let's hone in on some specific examples. Can you all talk about how AI has changed the way that your organization or your respective organizations makes decisions, how you have automated, give some examples of how you've automated some tasks?
Yeah, so we are exploring agentic, but we have not deployed any agentic solutions yet. I personally, and this is me personally, not Southwest, I personally think agentic is a little overhyped. I think humans want to stay in the loop, and I think it serves us all for humans to stay in the loop on many tasks. Some of the ways that we are using AI, and this is a combination of traditional and generative AI. So traditional AI, we've all been using it for years, whether you know it or not. So things like facial recognition is traditional AI. Generative AI is about creating new things, creating new content, creating summarizations. It's based on language and understanding how people talk and write. One of the things that we're using some generative AI and predictive AI for is we actually built a tool called LIAT, which looks at over 800 data attributes and is able to predict the health of our overall network up to 24 hours out. That allows us to adjust our operations to minimize disruptions from weather, from crew being sick, from a plane needing maintenance that we hadn't anticipated, etc. So there's a lot of ways that you can use predictive modeling with AI to understand what's coming in your business, and it doesn't matter how big or small your business is. Predictive modeling can be really, really valuable. We're also using predictive modeling, as you may all know, we recently changed our bag policy. I do not have any control over that, so please do not come to me with complaints. But we recently changed our bag policy, and one of the implications of that change is we had to make sure that we were staffing our airports correctly so that now if more people are checking bags and they have to pay for bags, we need to make sure that when you're at the check-in, there's enough staff to help you, there's enough kiosks to make sure you can check your bag, and that it isn't gonna hold up our overall operations. So we also built a predictive modeling tool to help us look at every single airport that we fly out of on a day-to-day basis, understand the number of flights, the number of passengers, how many of those passengers have traditionally checked bags, and adjust our staffing on the ground to try and make sure that we are proactively addressing that. Outside of that, we're also using AI internally to help with first drafts of emails for our customer care team, to summarize a customer's experience. So you are not speaking to an AI when you call us or message us, but those agents are being given a summarization of your case so that they can quickly help you. So we're using it in a lot of those ways. Again, our focus is really how do we remove friction from our customers' experience, and how do we remove friction so that our employees can actually serve people faster and better in the Southwest way.
So I'll give two examples, the use of AI in in workplace. Number one is, since I'm from a university, students are the beneficiaries of this tool. For example, any topic, really speaking, any topic in the world, whether it is simple things like gardening, cooking, or to even I'll talk about the most advanced topic in the airspace in a minute. So whatever topic you can get a starting point for your study. Very quick response from the student that we have for free. So it's better to use actually. If you don't use for your business, we may be lagging behind compared to others. So it's better to be on track and use the tools to get started in whatever report you are preparing or product you're building. So it's better to use the tool and get a starting point. But then obviously we have to be cautious. Whatever AI is writing or giving you, it is not really. There are some validation, probably some companies are doing, but it's not perfect. We know several examples. For example, an attorney was penalized for preparing a case, suggesting that there were some cases that were resolved, but they don't exist. The attorney was using a tool to prepare his whatever report, but then those cases didn't even exist. So the attorney was penalized. The same way, as student, people used to do some literature survey. Literature survey is part of our research, and that it takes a lot of time. So with this tool like Perplexity, they're able to churn out a wonderful literature survey probably in a day, as opposed to literally about 4 or 5 months or 6 months that in my days I used to spend that much time to do a comparative study of what kind of technologies are there, and what is their performance. So you get all this gist within time, within no time actually. So it's better to use the tool before you start anything in your workplace. Then I go to some advanced topics like airspace. I know why Nicole is cautious about using airspace for real world applications. You know, what I'm trying to do is, we have all these accident reports from NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board, especially the airline accidents. You know. So I work in drones and air taxis and air ambulances. You know, whether if you're following the market or the industry, we are going to see air taxis very, very soon. By 2030, for sure, you're going to see an unmanned air taxi going from Flower Mound to airport, from Frisco to airport, and I'm in the middle of it. So what I'm trying to do is, we are trying to automate airspace operations, especially for drone deliveries and air taxis. So one thing that I always ask is, okay, basically the question comes, how can we automate? And then it means that how AI can help. At this point, we cannot put our trust on AI for doing things in life and things. So an example is FAA recently put out a roadmap for artificial intelligence in airspace. First line that they said is, treat AI as a tool, nothing more than that. It's not a teammate. It's not AI is not your collaborator. You know, it's not a real co-pilot. It's just a tool. So as of now, in life critical scenarios like health and airspace, we only see AI as a tool. So I'll stop there and we'll talk more.
Wonderful points. Definitely, one of the themes, especially my observation has been, is from last 2 to 3 years for industries and organizations is how do we, as I mentioned to you earlier, is the theme has been around improving efficiencies and productivity. How do you guys agree with that, right? If in organizations, they're looking for ways where they can improve the efficiencies of their employees and productivity of their employees and even the customers and the clients and the ways. And the tools around us, if you look at it, it's actually improving the productivity and efficiencies. One of the common things which we have been working is the ways we are able to use an AI in software development lifecycle, which used to take a lot of months and years to develop a product or to develop a solution. So they are looking how in each of their different phases of the development of life cycle, like design, develop, and then test it, and then deploy these applications, it used to take a longer time. Now the AI has been applied in every single phase, whether it is AI in design tools, right? Figma, how many of you guys have known Figma? So even Figma is using AI, embedded, integrated AI into it, that is making faster decisions, it's able to give you faster designs for you. Even the development of the code, people used to write codes, thousands and thousands of lines of codes. Now they don't have to write code, the AI is able to generate code, and the human in the loop is where the developers are actually able to go ahead and look at the code and see, yes, this is good, I'll make some more customization to it. So from days and months, now they're able to do it in hours, and that's the reality of it. And even the development and deployment and the ability to build these applications, so the whole entire SDLC, the software development, now it takes only weeks or days from months. So that's a huge productivity and improvement, whether it is in developers, and it is improving, reducing the cost, it's improving the efficiencies of the developers because they're able to do the things faster, and they're able to scale and provide to their business and the customers. They're able to bring these new solutions and tools to their business and customers much faster. So they're able to improve the efficiencies. One of the tools, I think you guys will love me for this, is I'm gonna give out a secret, as I don't know how many of you have seen, as Replit.ai. This is one of the tools that has come up where you can build any apps within few seconds just giving a prompt. So you can actually, all of you can just go use Replit.ai. There is also a free subscription for that, where if you want to build your own website or build our own tool or a product itself, you just give your prompts saying what you actually want to build it. and it will generate the whole code for you, design as well, the front-end design, and even connect the data. It also creates a database, puts the data into it, just with your prompts, and it's able to build an app for you. So this is, it's not yet production ready, but still for somebody who wants to build a quick app or develop something. So Replit.ai is one of the tools which we recently tested it out. We were surprised, like it's the ability to generate, like even you give your own design and just say that, hey, use this design or create a new design. Even creating like notification systems, solutions, it's able to do it. Amazing things. There's a lot of videos on YouTube where you can learn about Replit.ai, how to use it. It's pretty simple, but we need to learn more of how to give these prompts so that you can make these tools intelligent enough to understand. So that's one of the examples. Similarly, we've been using AI in data engineering. So AI has been used in every phases of these, so it's improving drastically the efficiencies, and from 30% efficiencies the developers have seen with these tools. So thank you.
Can I just build on that, because you mentioned something that I just want to kind of hit on for the non-technical folks in the room. Because this is a technology and it's coming out of the technology space, the way it is framed and even the language that is used to describe how you interact with it is very tech-oriented. So when someone says prompt engineering, what they really mean is clear communication with these tools, right? So when you think about the best way to learn how to become a good user, specifically of generative AI and potentially agentic, it's really about, can you clearly state what you want it to do for you? And that's all prompt engineering is clear, concise communication. So don't let the technical terminology scare you or throw you off or make you feel like, well, I don't have a background in tech. The best users of AI, in my experience, are people who have marketing backgrounds, people who have comms backgrounds, people who are clear communicators, who can write well. The skills you need to use these tools are not necessarily technical skills. So just keep that in mind, and don't let the fact that it's coming out of tech and the fact that tech folks love to talk in tech speak scare you from using these tools. So.
Love that. Yes, that was very scary. Okay, on that, okay, what, and just really quickly, let's just kind of go down and maybe give just a couple of examples. You used one. What low cost or no cost AI tools would you recommend for businesses that are just getting started? I know we've talked about ChatGPT, but kind of.
For writing and honestly for graphics, like basic graphics creation, like flowcharts and that kind of stuff, Claude. For actual image creation, I would use Sora or Midjourney, very easy to use. If you're trying to build automations, make.com is a great tool. The user interface is fantastic, and it's super simple to start to build basic automations as well. So those would probably be my top tools to go use. And Figma, if you're doing any UX design, Figma and their new AI capabilities, fantastic.
So I use Perplexity for doing a very good research and supported by literature. One thing is, it only checks the online things. It doesn't look for deep research. Even though Perplexity is for deep research, it only looks on the online material. So anything that is not online, it cannot give you. So you need to employ another, for example, another person to actually do more research. For example, if you want to patent something, you have an idea, and then probably Perplexity is a very good tool to do that.
I think I'll take it from there as when you have your own information, if Perplexity is where you're not able to upload your documents, ask questions, that's the reason I was talking about Microsoft Copilot Studio, where you can actually connect to your data, your documents, your personal documents, right? Where it can start asking questions, you can ask summarization, you can get insights, whether it's Excel sheets, it can give you analytics or predictions or based on your data. So Microsoft Copilot Studio Agent is one of the free tools or low-cost tools where you can right away use it as well. And definitely ChatGPT is one. As I mentioned, I was using Perplexity a lot, but now these days I started liking ChatGPT more. I mean, because of the accuracy, I can say. I started getting more for research and accuracy perspective. There are different models it leverages, in the back of the scene, in the background, but ChatGPT is something which I definitely use it. And you can always go ahead and see what are the top 10 tools for day-to-day, like design, development. It will give you a list of things, right? Where based on what you do, it will provide you a list of tools with that are low cost. We are in an era definitely where we can do things faster and we can produce faster, and I'm looking forward for the next 10 years and 20 years. I don't know what's gonna happen here.
All right, so as AI tools are becoming more and more common and more present in the workforce, what skills would you say would be the most important for employees to develop?
Again, I'm gonna go to communication, curiosity. One of the things I also kind of preach a lot is we need more people from the humanities working in this space. Beyond just kind of the usage of these tools, we also have an ethical and moral obligation to be thinking about the impact to society writ large. And so personally, what I want to see in this workspace is more people with anthropology backgrounds, sociology backgrounds, various social sciences. I want to see philosophers, I want to see theologists. I really want to see us move away from this, again, being driven holistically by the technical side of the house. Those are the folks who are building these tools, but we've got to build them with humans in mind. And so I guess if the core skills I would say is learn how to become a good communicator. That will serve you better than almost anything else, unless you plan to build. If you plan to build, you obviously do need to understand coding and development and all of that stuff. But if you're just looking at how to use these tools, communication, asking questions, being curious, I would say would be the top skills that I'd be hiring against.
Nicola has got a very good point. It's not just engineering, the AI is not just engineering. It's a multidisciplinary field, and human factors are very significant. That reminds me that I've been studying something again, autonomy in airspace. The work actually started as a human-machine interaction. So prompt engineering is a simplified, or rather, the basic version of what we call human-machine interaction. And now we are using the term called human autonomy teaming, called HAT, human autonomy teaming. What it means is that, for example, for a pilot, can we use AI or autonomous systems as a co-pilot? So it is actually, these kind of things are being pursued. The second thing is, another application is, there is a drone flying, there is no, obviously, air taxis, imagine that there is an air taxi flying, and then there is no pilot on it. Basically, we are removing the pilot to make it autonomous. Then the machine has to interact with a remote pilot on the ground. Or the machine, or the autonomous system has to talk to other drones, piloted or unpiloted. So how can we make this happen seamlessly? So I was doing 50 years of research. We started, every decade there was some sort of a report that says, how good are we in this field? And the main question that keeps coming is, can we remove human out of the loop, out of autonomous systems? And the answer is no every time. So even the last report about 6-7 years ago, it says we cannot take human out of the loop. So what it means is that that AI cannot substitute for the human expertise. For example, whatever field you take, it's a pilot or marketing person. The depth cannot be replaced. The expertise that a human have cannot be replaced with AI. So, so in terms of preparation, one is prompt engineering, or in a more technical terms, human-machine interaction or human autonomy teaming, and then as I said in the beginning, AI is for everyone. You don't have to be a programmer or engineer. So if you are a programmer, then it helps you to become a better programmer, or it gives you the code blocks right away, so that you don't have to do from scratch. So prompt engineering is one field, and human-machine interaction is another thing, along with other areas.
Thank you so much. I think there is one thing is we are observing is there's a huge shift in the way we work today and the way we do things. And we want information faster, we want things to be done faster. And of course, based on that, industries are evolving, the way they are doing things, the way they are able to work. And there's an opportunity, as Kamesh was mentioning, is on AI for everyone. Is definitely AI is there. One is the applications of AI, which you can get very good at it, knowing what are the tools around that can help me in improving my productivity and my efficiencies and the way things I can do it. That's as big that awareness and how you are able to learn those new tools very quickly and apply in your day-to-day. Whether you could be an engineer, whether it could be a doctor, or you could be a developer, or you could be in any field. But today you have tools where you can make it, you are a superhuman, right? Like using those tools where if somebody versus who doesn't know versus somebody who knows even two applications of the tools are able to perform better than somebody who was not using these AI application tools. The second is, how do you actually build these tools? Those are for the developers, the engineers, and these are like able to use those tools to help them better develop the products or solutions. So there is, as Nicholas mentioned, is the curiosity of learning and educating ourselves with a lot of things that's going on. And just, what are these tools? What is generative? The technology that's evolving, the computer vision. In fact, we are using every single day, even Netflix, the recommendation it's able to provide us. So understanding this and applying in our day-to-day lives will definitely help and help you in your job and workforce space.
Thank you. I know that there are some people out there that are, it just is this scary big thing. So let's just kind of address that and go head on with it. What are some of the biggest risks with AI use in business? And how can those be mitigated?
I mean, the biggest risk is, the biggest risk is you or your employees putting proprietary data into one of these tools, which essentially makes it discoverable to anyone looking for it. So if you're putting your latest business strategy or your financial numbers or anything that you would not want your top competitor to see or have access to into these tools, you already have a problem. The second is PII. So if you're putting any personal information about your customers, about your employees, about your students, there is a lawsuit risk there. You can absolutely be sued for putting PII information into these tools because once again, that's discoverable. So those I would say are the two biggest risks. And to mitigate that, one of the very first things that we put in place was a robust governance team. So if you are building this out, if you are a small business, maybe have some governance policies. If you're a mid-sized company, you need a governance team. Anything beyond mid-size, you need a dedicated governance and risk management team to be thinking strategically about this space, to be following any regulatory changes about this space. If you are doing business anywhere outside of the United States, you need to understand the regulatory compliance associated with these tools in other countries. That is a massive, massive risk. I would say the second risk is using these tools without having the proper human in the loop oversight. As was mentioned before, these tools do hallucinate. They make up data. They make up studies and sources. If it gives you a statistic, ask it where it came from and ask for a link to that study. If you cannot actually source it, do not use the information. So you've got to have this balance when using specifically generative AI of understanding it's great at creating things, like it can draft something for you, but it's also great at creating things where it makes things up, right? So understand the balance of those two use cases and make sure that you're validating anything that it's giving you, that that's actually true, that it's real, that there was a real study, that there's a real statistic, it's a real quote, whatever that may be. Because if you go in, as was mentioned, you know, if you're a lawyer and you go in and cite a case that never existed, you're losing that case and you might be debarred, right? So there's a lot of risk in kind of using these tools blindly and simply trusting them as a crutch. So I would say those are probably the biggest risks.
In fact, I will also reiterate those 2 points. One is PIA, or personally identifiable information, so like social security numbers or student records. There are laws against, for example, putting out student information, FERPA laws. Even we, as a teacher, I cannot even share student information with the parent. So given those regulatory guidelines, we have to respect, and then we have to make sure that our information is not going out, especially business strategies. Because you are using, what AI tools are doing is, they're actually what I call scanning or scouting the whole internet and giving you the information. Whether you ask for a code segment, somebody written the code, and sometimes it may not even clearly give you where the code comes from. And so I tell my students, we have to acknowledge where you get the data. So with AI tools, it's difficult to say who actually wrote the code. You cannot get the source. There is some, lately there are some guardrails, like Perplexity is giving you a bunch of sources. But again, the onus is on us to make sure the validity of this, the information that you are getting, and the sources, acknowledgement is required for those sources. So at the end of the day, the 2 things are very critical. One is privacy, or sharing your proprietary information on the internet. Second is validation of the information that you are getting. These 2 are very critical.
Yes, I totally agree with everyone here. I think as these new tools are emerging every day, every single day, industries have becoming very much, it has become a top priority for organizations. The security has become a top priority. The data privacy, right? Understanding the data security of it, protecting your data, organization's data, whether it is internal data, it is the number 1 priority for the organization. Apart from that, the models, every day we're building thousands of models, we're leveraging thousands of models, right? How do we trust it? The trustworthy of it. That's where the human in the loop is always coming into place, where you validate the information, you give the feedback, and it learns and it comes back, right? It's a continuous trustworthy. So organizations are putting these guardrails in place for trustworthiness, the biasness. Even you don't want your models to give wrong information, right, or biased information, right? So definitely trustworthiness, biasness, transparency of your models. Where is this information actually coming from, right? If the model is giving you information, you want to know the citations of the information, where the sources of the information, how did it come to an information where it's able to give you an answer. It's able to, the explainability is one of the very important aspect of the model, which you need to look for is this model able to explain me how did it arrive to that information? What are the sources it has taken? So organizations, there are different guardrails they're putting in place: trustworthiness, biasness, transparency, explainability, data security, data policy. So these are the things where people, and even security of it, the data going out of the organizations, right, when you're using these tools. So the tools are being within the organization. We're also using so many of AWS, Amazon services, the Google services, is the data going there, right? Like, that's one of the, so definitely industries and organizations are working towards putting this governance and the security in place so that we can also leverage and get benefited as well as be safe and secured.
I would say the other risk is not using these technologies.
Yes.
Because your competitors probably are, right? So while it's scary and you need to have governance guidelines and you need to be safe, you also do definitively need to start using these technologies because they are becoming the standard.
Okay, that is gonna segue into this. Okay, so we have a room full of nonprofits, banking, we have title companies, I'm looking around, retail, restaurants. Give a couple of, if someone wants out there today and they're like, okay, I want to start this, what is like a first step? Like, would it be in ordering products? Would it be in, give us just kind of a few, you're about to touch the surface of this, so many of them may be using it already, but in a small business, you could apply AI technology to help you do.
In a small business, I would say start using it for competitive research and market research. Start using it within your marketing function. It could be drafting all of your customer emails. It could be creating all of your social media content. It could be cleaning up your lists and making sure that your list of customers is accurate. You could be using it to do predictive modeling. So if you're in a sales function, being able to understand what can you expect based on how the market is changing. Same with nonprofits. You could be using it to understand who's likely to give, how much they might give, and to be crafting communications that are customized for different segments. Gosh, I mean, there's a million different applications, but those would be some of the first places I would start. Your marketing function is one of the easiest and most low-risk places to start using AI within a small to medium-sized business.
I think yeah, that's a good point. Market research is where it can help us a lot. For example, think of anything that you want to build a product. Take like in a third-party OEM for an automobile, for example. So you can describe your product idea. Don't worry about that is going out and you're losing the edge. Just describe your product idea or a service idea in very layman terms, and then ask for a good market report. For example, today morning I have this 2018 Prius model. So the latest things like CarPlay don't work in that car. So I was looking for either a product to help me to install a CarPlay in my car. So then it gave me a bunch of solutions. So the example I'm giving is for if you have some product idea in mind or a service, I think by sharing that with ChatGPT, it will get you who are your competitors, and who else is doing something similar to what you're doing, and how much cost that you can, what could be the pricing model. So all these things you can actually get just quickly in your fingertips. So that's where you can.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think a small example I want to give for small businesses or any businesses, right? I have just started up a biotech company, which is a very brand new concept for me. So I've leveraged these AI tools right from research. What is the problem I'm trying to solve? What is the market around these biotech companies, and even the diseases around it, right? So it helped me to establish right from understanding the problems to understanding the solutions, and even designing my own websites, right? It is designing the market research or the target segment, right? The business models, what is the new business models? It's not working out. So right end to end, whether you are in an established business or starting up a business, or you are in any, it can help you end to end of every, right from designing, from technical aspects of it to research aspects to any aspects you can think about it today. There are tools available. All you need to do is just ask, what are the tools on this, what are the tools it can help me?
Can I give you 2 power user examples as well that you could apply to kind of any type of challenge you're trying to solve? So there's 2 ways that you can use these tools that I would really consider power user usage. One is ask it to go into listening mode, and you can then do a brain dump. So if you're thinking of a new product, or you're gonna write a blog post, or whatever it may be, you have a new product concept, tell it to go into listening mode and not to actually write anything until you tell it to expand. And then you have the ability to, whether you're typing or you have it in voice mode, literally do a brain dump. And then at the very end, once you've kind of gotten out all your thoughts, tell it to summarize, or tell it to write an outline for the blog post, or tell it to write a business strategy or a plan. But that's one power user way to use these tools. The other is maybe, again, you're starting a business, ask it to ask you questions one at a time to help you develop your business strategy, your marketing strategy. This is great for strategic work. And what it will do is it will start to ask you questions one at a time that you'll answer, and at the end, it will then, again, give you a really great output. But those can be applied to almost any use case. And they're just a great way of leveraging these tools beyond just typing in a single question or asking or putting in a single prompt. The other way is write a really, really amazing prompt that touches on every single thing you want it to do. That takes a lot of upfront thinking. And there's some different use cases where you might want to use it in that way. But again, those are just a couple of ways as a user to really think about how do you get the most out of these tools, regardless of the use case that you're applying it to.
One tip I definitely want to give is when you're giving these prompts, give it multiple times. Ask in different ways, ask in a better way. So the model starts understanding. The first prompt may not be the right answer, but you give in a different way, asking it more creative way, more the best ways, right? You ask 15 times, now it gives you a wonderful answer because you're already trained the model. So that worked well for me and others.
And if you find a prompt that works and gets the output that you want, save it. Create a prompt library of things. Again, if it's you're constantly creating social media campaigns, or you're constantly doing analysis of your financials, once you get a prompt that gets you a really good output, save it, because you can always copy and paste that back in for next month, next campaign, whatever it may be.
So one thing that I suggest not to use it for health reasons, let's say you say I have a headache. It can give you a whole bunch of things that can scale. So if it is
Better than WebMD.
so it's better to go to a doctor and get the right answer rather than using it for.
It can be a double-edged sword, right? Yeah. Finding that right balance. So we've had such a robust conversation about how AI can be used currently. Let's talk about future outlook. I think it's safe to say that technology is moving, and it's moving fast. So what AI trends should businesses be watching for over the next, say, like 2 to 5 years?
Okay, I'm gonna sci-fi nerd out here a little bit. The next wave that I think we're gonna see, and I think we're already seeing it a little bit with Google's announcement yesterday and their new world building tool, is the application of something called active inference and the spatial web. If you've never heard of those, don't worry, most people haven't. Like I said, this is super hardcore sci-fi nerd stuff. But essentially, active inference is a completely different model of building AI that basically uses and models after the biological way that humans learn. Everything we have now is based on really how data and technology is architected. And when these new active inference models come out, I think we're going to see a massive shift in what is possible with these technologies. So I won't go any deeper into the technical side of that, but a whole new world is coming. And again, I think we have a responsibility to make sure that that world is morally and ethically aligned with where we want to go as a human species.
So I think how to. The main point is how to use AI properly. So in terms of the tools, number one is putting some guardrails. Like in my case, we were trying to use AI for airspace. So at this point, we are nowhere close to using AI for commercial planes or even drones. We are not ready for that. So one thing is how to put guardrails, how to set, how to not to hallucinate. So these things are important for life critical applications, especially in transportation and health. I've seen some products towards something like health applications for personal health applications or doctor assistants. I've seen some tools like copilots. Copilot is a common word, but whatever profession you are looking into, copilot is something that you can assist. For example, for a physician, a copilot is a physician assistant. So, but at the same time, we still have these problems of veracity, explainability. These things are there. So the academic community or research community is trying to see how to put these guardrails so that we are getting authentic information, explainable information, and citations and all that. So these are things that are going to come.
I think in one word I can say super intelligence is coming up, right? The next 5 years, 2 to 5 years, we can definitely see the technology is evolving so fast, and you have seen Trump and other countries investing in data centers, the huge data centers, accessibility of information. So the super intelligence is coming up, and where things are going to change the way we do.
No, but at the same time, so what I see is that you cannot get anything that doesn't exist. So what AI is doing is, it is actually what I call scanning the whole internet and giving you the information the way you want within that boundaries. But as far as creativity is concerned, no, I don't think it can replace a human being. So while intelligence here means how to scan all this information, which is impossible for a human being. At the same time, giving you the way you want. So basically, we are trying to make these AI systems more friendly, and giving you personal information. That's where the success is. But as far as problem-solving issues are concerned, creativity is concerned, human is still on the top. We cannot replace a human being.
To build on that slightly, and I'll be short, I think we're living at a time where human technical capability has caught up with our imagination, and things are possible today that we have literally been dreaming of for thousands of years as a species. And I think it's time that we start imagining what's next. And I don't know what that looks like, but all of you in this room could be part of that. And again, I think AI is really good at kind of doing things that have come before. So it's up to us as humans to figure out what's next and what does that future look like.
One thing I definitely want to add is the intelligence part of it, right? I think in somewhere we are losing our own intelligence to it because we are depending so much on these intelligences. We're not thinking. Our ability to last 6 months, the way we are using ChatGPT, we used to think before, write it down. So I think it's very critical, no matter what the technology is as Nicole mentioned, is you need to dump your thoughts first. Do not go and ask ChatGPT or these intelligent tools, but let your thoughts come out first, right? And then build on top of it. Otherwise, the ability for the way we write we lose over the time.
That is wonderful. Okay, we are going to open this up for questions. So raise your hand and we will call on you and say your name and who you're with, and then give your question. And we will let this panel go. Okay, Ray David.
Back in the old days, with marketing, everything became about SEO and driving to the site on Google. And we've noticed that when now we brought up the AI, we can't even get in the first page anymore. Where can you go learn the algorithms or things to stay prevalent in searches in AI? Because it's definitely different than Google.
There are a number of places, and I'll have to look them up because I don't have them top of mind. But there are a number of ways that you can start to ensure that your business does show up in essentially AI search results. It is different than Google, and it's going to be a constantly evolving landscape because Google kind of dominated. So once you had optimized for Google, you were kind of good to go. The AI space is going to be a little bit different, but I can gather some of those recommendations and sources, and I can share that back if that's of interest for folks.
Please. Thank you.
Okay, Chris Haverstick.
Yes, we talked a little bit about the safeguards that companies can put in place to make sure that information's not getting out that's supposed to. Can you go into a little more detail? What programs or how does a company go about doing that? Is there a particular platform that allows you to do that?
Yeah, I can take that question, definitely. One of the ways which we have put, like I talked about different guardrails, the different control gates they put, whether it's data privacy, trust explainability, or biasness, or accuracy of the data. What the companies are doing is there are tools available for every single, whether it's data accuracy, privacy, or trustworthiness, explainability. There are tools, which is third-party tools or ready to go out-of-the-box tools, where companies are leveraging to put these gates, control gates in place. So there are multiple tools, whether it's trustworthiness or explainability, they are building walls. And the other way is, these days when we are leveraging the tools itself, it's coming, those explainability, transparency, the data privacy, it's coming with it. For example, Data IQ is one of the platforms which we are using, like for building a model, developing a model, deploying a model into production. But it comes with explainability, it's coming with trustworthiness, it's coming. So even AWS services or Google services or Azure, they are providing these guardrails, security. So not just these third-party tools, ready-to-go products, but even the services are providing all the guardrails and the control gates, which you can put, including your data accuracy and protection.
The other piece of that is the humans in your organization. So you actually have to have usage guidelines. You have to, in theory, have an approved tool that has a data privacy component if your expectation is that employees are using proprietary documents or data and wanting to leverage AI within the usage of those. So there's what the tools themselves are doing, and then there's actually having usage guidelines for your employees, having a tool that is licensed, that has protection in it. So instead of going to ChatGPT or Claude, they know this is our tool and you can upload proprietary documents. It's similar to cybersecurity. The biggest risk is the humans in your organization, right? So training and making sure that they're armed with what they can and cannot do within those tools. I would almost say required compliance training for employees that plan to be using AI tools within their work, especially if you're requiring them to use those tools.
Another thing to add is, think of like a defense company where you don't want anybody else's data to come in and anybody else's data, you don't want to send out your data to anywhere in the world. So in a very strict environment like that, even though you have a tool, you restrict the tool to use only the data within the organization and not to use anybody else's, not anything in the world. And then also not to let the data get out. So in a strict environment like that, or for a strict environment like that, we need to have our own team of AI team to build or fine-tune the tool to accomplish these two guardrails. Nothing out, nothing in, but only the data within the organization. And that's a bit of a challenge because we have to put our own resources to build.
One of the good tools to research is the Palantir technology. It's a tool used for data security for the US Army itself. So it's a very good use case for us to study on that, the Palantir.
Angie.
So Angie Cox, Legion's Title Cost Cleaning. I want to go back to maybe your question or your comments about the assistant. So I'd like to know a way how to use an assistant effectively, because I'm the type that if I have to do a piece of it, I might as well do it myself. So you had mentioned about booking your airline tickets. I think that's fabulous, but there's no way I'm giving AI my credit card information to book my flight, because then that's breach of my information. So how do you use an assistant effectively? I'm
That's
all about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think the guardrails comes into place. There are tools like Microsoft Copilot Studio, agents, where you can create your own agents to go ahead and do it. But these tools are also providing the guardrails of your information not breached by others. So when you're leveraging and connecting Microsoft Copilot agent to your own repository of documents, it's the tool that it's making sure, but it's, of course, the human in the loop is always there, but it is always these tools. What we need to check is whatever the tools we are leveraging it, the assistants, what we're using it, making sure they have these guardrails in place, the security is in place, and not leveraging any other tool that you do not trust or do not rely, but coming from reputed companies and the guardrails in place. So that's, I think the agent is where definitely we can create our own agents to book the flights or give you information, and it keeps your data secured as well, but of course, human in the loop.
Well, and I would look for places within, again, your processes where you're doing a lot of repetitive tasks. So maybe someone signs up for your service on your website and have them automatically added to a database, automate a welcome email, schedule a meeting with that person based on your calendar availability, and then have the agent automatically do research on that customer and provide you a summary, so that when you walk into that sales meeting, it was scheduled for you, you know who they are, the communication to that customer has been automated, it's done the research for you on their business, their background, and it's provided you a summary. And then you take it from there and build the human relationship, right? So that's just one example, but it doesn't have to be a task where you're giving it your credit card information or proprietary data for you to think about building an agent that could take care. Essentially, think of it as if you had an intern and you asked them to go do a bunch of things, how would you structure that work for them? What would that be? And could you build an agent to do that for you instead?
You just described my former executive assistant.
There you go, right?
Would now be out.
Yeah, and so one of the fears as well that kind of comes up with this is, are there gonna be no entry-level jobs? I think for companies approaching the space without a lot of strategic thought, maybe, but I would say smart companies will be over-hiring for entry-level jobs, what I would consider to be AI natives. And if you have entry-level roles, I would adjust all of those to require that those folks have hands-on experience with AI. Because that is the new workforce, is AI natives. In the same way that we talked about social media natives and mobile natives, AI natives are going to be the new power tool in your workforce.
Clinton Duffin, Span Transportation. This is all very exciting. The AI technology is undoubtedly going to change the world. But what I'm thinking about is the advent of quantum computing is on the horizon. Just as AI has disrupted the world in a lot of ways, is the potential that when quantum computing becomes a reality and is accessible to people, that as well will disrupt this new AI landscape that we've created.
I mean, I'm sure there's folks who are more technical than me, but absolutely. I mean, I think we're in a completely new era. I don't imagine that you could have access to quantum computing and have it not drastically change the business landscape, the technology landscape, the speed at which we're able to do certain things. So yes, that's a massive disruption that's coming down the line.
Look, I agree with what Nicola said. The thing is, it's going to take time. These are not going to come immediately because we're still in the beginning stages. There are a lot of developments, significant developments, but still to use like quantum computing kind of things in the real world, it is still we are far away. But it is true. You can the speed at which quantum computing is going to work is significant, tremendously fast. So given that, we are going to see new applications and yeah, a lot of things can be done in a split second.
In fact, NVIDIA and Meta is already using quantum computing into their technologies, so it's already in the go.
Yes, Paul Ross, I'm a retail consultant, but you were speaking about creating an app and a website in a short period of time. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? How can I go about getting
Yes, one of the tools where I talked about is Replit.ai. It's REPLIT.ai. So the way we REPLIT, Replit.ai. The problem we were trying to solve is these days we take longer in organizations where we have worked as we're taking a longer time for any kind of product development or even an apps, right? All these we are in the generation where we use apps for everything, right? You have to write front end, the regular process of an app development. You have a front end design, you have a back end development, right? You need a database for it, right? You need to connect. So there's a whole lot of tools and technologies, front-end technologies, back-end technologies, database technology, and connectivity. It takes longer time. So the tools like this has come up where you can actually, it can just based on the prompts, it can actually build a design for you just based on, let's say you want a website with so-and-so content, whatever you want the website could be, and the database, you can provide the database based on the prompts, and then it can actually build a database for you, it can build the front end for you, it can build that server technologies, and it can actually deploy it, ready to go deploy. But it's not production ready as such, where it is really, you need to have some tweaks, keep more prompts to it, and the way we have done it, where the apps which used to take a longer time, we took that code, we tweaked it, customized it. Again, we added what we wanted because the company had their own branding and all, and then we usually deploy it back. But it definitely reduced the number of hours and months which we used to build apps. So I definitely recommend to check out Replit.ai. It's one of the new tools that has come up for any kind of app development.
Okay, Charlotte, there's more questions. Kyle?
Yeah, Kyle Carroll with the Window Experts. I replace windows and doors. So I do have a question, just to circle back on what you guys were mentioning on different tools out there, just like the user tools like ChatGPT or Google Gemini or Grok or Perplexity, you guys mentioned a couple of times. Can you elaborate a little bit more on which tools would be best for certain things? So like say I want to be creative, right? Like Perplexity would be one. What would I use Grok for primarily? What would I use ChatGPT for primarily? If you can give us any information or tidbits, that'd be great.
I mean, a lot of the GPT tools have a certain level of parity in their capabilities. So in some ways I would almost say pick one you like and experiment with it, and then test it out. So I will sometimes take a prompt, I'll put it into ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity and see what I get out of it. They also have different capabilities of being able to, if you are specifically writing content, you can actually create writing styles on a lot of these tools. So maybe you have a friendly style for when you're communicating with your employees. Maybe you have a customer specific style that you want when you're writing content for customers. Maybe you're dealing with a legal issue and you want it to write like a lawyer, right? So you can actually create different writing styles, but I would experiment because what I have found is there's a lot of parity between those tools. Like they're all kind of good enough at most of those tasks. And again, you might find, and sometimes, like I found the last couple of weeks, ChatGPT was having a bit of an off couple of weeks where the stuff it was giving me, I was like, oh, I'm not going with any of this. So it also, the models are changing all the time. The back-end technology is changing all the time. So I would say become a proficient user of all, because we're in a world where it is unlikely that there will be a single dominant tool. It's a world of yes and. And I would think about it as building an ecosystem of these tools that you use in your day-to-day work, as opposed to having a singular tool that's your only go-to. And so, I don't know, you guys might have some different opinions on
They
that.
have models for different capabilities. Like if you go into ChatGPT or Perplexity, you can pick the model, like mini model, O2 model, O3 model. Each one is for research. One is for, if you want to do research, they have a model different for research. If you want to do more of analytical tax, they have a model for that. So based on what you're trying to accomplish, you can choose the specific model that will help you in that specific task.
And I would say one other tip, as kind of a user tip, is put it into a role. So when you're writing a prompt, start your prompt by defining the role that you want the GPT to play. Act as a marketing expert with 15 years of experience in go-to-market strategy and help me write X, Y, and Z. Act as a legal expert with a proficiency in property, you know, I'm not a lawyer, but clearly, but literally put it into a role. Tell it who it's supposed to be in this particular task, and you'll get a better output from any of those tools that you mentioned.
I think as Nicola and Navina was mentioning, the key thing is how you use the tool. All the tools have a lot of commonality. One thing that I lately see is deep research versus quick results. So depending on which choice you want, if you click on the right button, it will give you more in-depth report. For example, Perplexity does. Even ChatGPT has that too. It asks you two options. Is it quick results or in-depth research?
To add on to what Kyle was talking about, the different platforms, what are your thoughts on the free apps versus having subscriptions? Should you stick with one, or should you go broad and have several for different tasks?
Absolutely, great question. Absolutely, I have started with the basic for my research and what the work I'm doing. And then the more information, the detailed information for my business, especially when I wanted to understand more marketing or understand the global market, understand more information, accurate information, that's when I went for subscription. So the more the detailed information, the research, but for a day-to-day task where it does not have an impact to it. But if I'm going in front of my investors or I need really a good source of information, accurate information, and researched information. So usually I go for subscriptions in that case.
Another thing is about if you want to do collaborative research. For example, if you are using only for personal use, different. But as an organization, you want to really collaborate, then you need subscription.
Yeah, I would also say it depends on how much you're using it. If you're using the free tools, you'll hit your context window pretty quickly if you're using it a bunch in one day, or if you're using, for example, Sora for image creation, you'll get a couple images, but then you'll quickly run out of runway. So it really depends on your volume of usage and the use cases as to whether or not you should pay. Right now I'm paying for ChatGPT and Claude, but I don't know, I might sunset one of those. I was paying for Gemini for a little while, didn't love it, so I stopped
Started with
paying for
$0.
that.
Now I ended up in paying $200. But better than thousands of dollars, so sure, yeah.
Other questions? Mike?
Mike Martinez with CTI. It's really great to have a panel like this in front of us. Thanks for being here today. Besides quantum computing, what else should I be investing in?
Data centers.
Space
Data
manifestation.
centers. I think that's something which even I'm planning to. So that's one of the areas to look out for.
Yeah, manufacturing in space. They're starting to explore that, and they're actually looking into building data centers in space, which is brilliant in my opinion. But again, we're moving into a whole new world. What could you build if you didn't have to deal with gravity? I don't know.
In the near term, I also include unmanned aviation like drones and air taxis. They are coming up. In fact, since I'm in the middle of it, in terms of research and academician, we are working very closely. In fact, what's happening is we have a new center coming up from FAA. It's called Center for Advanced Aviation Technologies, right here in our backyard. And in few years, we are going to see air taxis and ambulances. I think estimate is about 2030. So that's a good place to invest.
Do you have any concerns about cybersecurity with all this AI stuff?
It is actually. So they say AI can help security, and security has to help AI. There is some research going on security for AI and AI for security. So it's very critical, meaning that, well, generally, not in terms of the tools itself, not that something going to happen to the tool, but wherever we are using, wherever we are, in a functionality point of view. Let's say, for example, aviation. So if there is a remote control or cloud computing that is being used for operations, airspace operations, then hacking is going to happen. Another thing is jamming, jamming of the signals, because communication is very, very important for aviation, especially unmanned aviation. So in those cases, we are already working on it, but still potentially we're going to see challenges. For example, jamming. If you are not able to get a communication from the drone to the ground, or from the ground you're not able to reach the drone, that becomes a problem. But researchers are working on it. Our aviation communities, and they're working on it.
One thing definitely I want to add on the risk part of it is having these tools in the wrong hands. They are using AI to do the wrong things, right? The terrorism, or they have so much of information at their fingertips, right? So the counterpart of using AI against AI is where we are working, the companies are working, because it's AI against AI.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's similar to any other type of technology. It could be used for good or evil. Nuclear technology could cleanly power cities. It can also create bombs, similar to AI. So yes, cybersecurity is a huge risk in the wrong hands, which again, I think puts the onus on all of us to make sure we're using it in the right way, as individuals as well as within our companies.
Another question. Yes.
Well, I just discovered Google Mail. So what's your perspective on generative AI video generation?
So I actually live in Atlanta, and we are one of the biggest film production cities in the country. Very proud to say. Okay, yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's some of the new video technologies are astounding, like just astounding. Massive disruption coming for the film industry and generally film production and video. Again, if you're a small business and you've always wanted to be able to create videos around your products and services, huge opportunity to start creating with very little investment. So I'd say go experiment and explore with those tools. If you are a filmmaker, start playing with these tools. There are a couple of folks I know in my network who were in traditional production and have moved over to AI production. It's another one of those spaces where I think, unfortunately, there will be some job loss, but the reality is that the people who are best at using those tools are people with a production background. because they know how to prompt the tools in a way that is going to get them something similar to what they would have gotten with millions of dollars and a soundstage. So being able to layer human expertise on top of these tools is a power that we have as humans. But yeah, go experiment with VO. There's some other video tools out there that are really interesting, and see what you can create.
One more question, if I may. I'm glad you brought up the disruption there and some people getting left behind. Our organization provides services for many vulnerable populations in the region. And I deal with people every day who still haven't caught up in the past 30 years with just the internet and things like that. And my concern is that this is going to leave even more people behind than it does. And it is exciting to think about how this is going to, just the unlimited potential that we have at our fingertips now. But I know there's a lot of discussion on building, investing, but in any of your sectors, is there any discussion about like what to do? Because I know this is going to disrupt a lot of jobs. Is there any talk or any concern really about how big companies, is there any obligation on their side to perhaps help people not get left behind?
I think we have a huge obligation. One of the things that I'm leading is our overall AI literacy strategy as well. So I think it's very important that we educate folks on how to use these tools, get them comfortable with using these tools, and in some capacity, I think vulnerable populations have the most to gain from learning how to use these tools and learning early. But I'm a big advocate for being an early adopter, or at least an early experimenter with tools. And I think part of that is, how do we simplify this space down so that we're not talking in technical terms, we're talking in terms that an average user is able to understand and incorporate into their day-to-day job and life. And again, I think the onus is on us to remove the technical speak unless you're in a technical role, and really think about the human implications and how we educate humans on the usage of these tools.
And in fact, organizations have literacy programs adapting to it. So every organization, they are having AI programs, and AI for everyone, AI for developers, AI for business. So they have categorized it. I think to tap into your education, to your company, organization resources at a great rates.
AI is making the interfaces very easy, you know. So the people can, older people or senior citizens also can use the AI. So which means that progress is only not in the technological development, but also how to make it easier to access. So given that aspect, putting more efforts in that direction, you know, for example, how can a disabled person or challenged person can use these tools? Work has to be done. There's a lot of work to be done, and as Nicola said, the burden is on us. At the same time, if you see the progress, in addition to technology development, you know, more tools are coming, but they're also accessible to people. So we are going in the right direction, but more to be done.
Hi, good morning, Joe Murray, media production and soft skills management training.
Those are going to be more important.
AI impacts both of those. Because with every technological revolution, there's not only disruption, there's displacement. So the displacement factor is something that I feel needs more depth of understanding, because all the skills that we take for granted today, the next generation will not have. Traditional skills, the do it from scratch skills, the trial and error skills. It's good for me in the soft skills area, because a lot of management students that I train don't know how to talk to each other, because they're so technology and tool dependent that they lose the natural ability to human interact. So in many ways, we're retraining them, or in some cases, helping them discover what those skill sets are and why they're just as important as technical skill sets, if not more so.
I would definitely like to add had one of the things. We went for one of my friend's family, and my kids are like 5 and 7 years old. They are playing with each other, and they're sitting beside each other, and they're using their laptops, their iPads, and they're playing a game. And they're like, "Where are you? Where are you?" They're not playing with each other, but they're playing in the game. So, technology has become so that we have these kids who are going. It's a very scary thing that they are not learning the skills. All they see is the digital, and they only know, even they have friends, they don't know how to play with each other.
Because they leapfrog over a whole
Yes,
generation.
yes, it is a concern actually.
So I have two high schools.
Yeah, one way to address this is, creating these programs, educational programs that are holistic. And in the beginning of the panel discussion, we were talking about AI is not just a technology. There are human factors involved, psychology involved. So given that, whenever we create a program, like for example, AI certification, then we need to build a program that is holistic, not just the technology, but the other factors that we talked about. How to communicate with each other, how to create teams with the technology. How can we coexist? How societies can coexist along with technologies. I think that needs to be done by us.
Just one final thought, because I believe it was you, sir, who made the comment that AI hasn't yet invaded the creative space,
That's true.
but indeed it has.
That's true.
I'm in that space, so I can tell you, it does do it through replication rather than organic creation. But through replication and sampling, in my world, the IP, the creative IP is A, being infringed upon, B, being usurped by replicated creative
That's true. See, what happening is, when you look at the write-up that is coming from tool, it looks like as if it is creating something new, but it's not. It is only scouting the whole landscape and giving you an answer that fits your question. By prompt engineering, you can even make it more interesting, more fine-tuned. But none of the information that is coming out is created. There is no master intelligent person sitting behind. No.
But it can be marketed as creative content.
Right, it is marketed as creative, but it's not creative, that's for sure. If it doesn't exist, it cannot give you. It cannot create a new idea. It cannot. So,
Yeah, generative AI is great at replication, and it's great at mimicking humans, right? What it's not able to do is truly bring to the table new and novel ideas. That's where humans come into play. I think as far as content creation goes, I think what we'll ultimately end up is with a stratification of content, where human-made content will be a premium. And honestly, you've even seen this, like Nosferatu last year came out. That movie has no CGI in it, right? I would consider that a film. I would consider movies like Marvel movies to be movies. There's a difference between art and entertainment. Human-made content, whether it's written content, music, film, I think will become a premium level of content. There's a whole other question about accessibility of that content, right? Depending on cost and money and all that kind of stuff. But I think ultimately you'll end up with a stratification of content. And I hope eventually we get to a world where that is labeled. This is truly human made. This is AI generated. This is collaboratively made with AI. Because a lot of the fear around content right now is AI slop. We're definitely gonna see that. We as humans need to get better at deciphering what is and isn't made by AI. We've got a lot of work to do in education around that. But I do think, I think again, it's another place where it's a world of yes and. Will we have a bunch of AI generated content? Yes. And will that stop humans from making content? No. We will continue to make content. It might be in different ways and with different tools, but I do think you're gonna end up with kind of a multi-tiered system of content. And it's also up to us to decide when is that appropriate for it to be AI generated, and when do we truly want human-made art?
For an elite market.
Yep, exactly.
One final question.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry, Kristen Jones, and and so I kind of touch in everyone's industry, kind of how do we keep the human aspect? How do we keep their communication and soft skills? If us as adults are already in this space, we're just trying to give them a tool before it like grows without us, especially at our work in the workspace as it is. So is there coming up? Is there talk about a change in our curriculums? Like, I mean, if you're not in IT specifically, maybe you are in psychology, are they utilizing at least one class that's specifically focused on the soft skills and the AI and how they interconnect and what they need to do to make sure they don't lose this piece of it as they come up through school and into the workforce to utilize AI? I feel like if we wait till they're in the workforce to learn it, it's too late. But if we start when they're young, we start when they're coming through at college to learn how to live with both of them and not lose those soft skills, and we're not going to have to, they can piece it together, essentially. Like, is there a conversation
In
going
fact,
on with legislation?
yeah, absolutely. You must have heard the news, even the Saudi or China, they're incorporating AI into their education system. It's no longer in colleges or the workforce, but even right from the age of kindergarten, they have started AI. So merging AI has become a part of their learning, development, and the skills, what they are. So definitely education system are taking it up and they're putting it as part of their curriculum across the world to go.
These discussions are actually ongoing. You brought up a good point. I believe the schools and the universities have a very important role to play. As Navina said, AI is being introduced even at elementary schools as well. There are a lot of efforts even in terms of how to integrate AI into some activities. Like, for example, there is a robot and then you're learning a programming. You learn, for example, some Java program or C program, a Python program. So by you're integrating these tools with these AI tools such that the student can learn how to program. A simple example that I've seen is there is a toy car and the student is learning how to write a for loop. Then if he does it right, for example, make 4 rounds. He's learning the for loop, do it 4 times, and the car is actually making 4 circles. So this way, AI is helping us to train the students. But again, in terms of the encouraging creativity, interdisciplinarity, we have a lot of work to do. These conversations are actually started. We are not there yet, but in future you're going to see good programs for integrating AI at different levels. And most importantly, preparing our future workforce. There's a huge burden on us. How do we prepare our folks, for students, for these new jobs? So that is still ongoing. These conversations are happening, and hopefully we'll see some good outcomes.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm seeing, and I'm obviously not in academia, is I think it's happening at the individual instructor level, where they're thinking very strategically about how to incorporate AI, specifically at the higher education levels. There are professors who are acknowledging their students are using AI, and instead of trying to stop them, they're saying, okay, here's your assignment. Go and use ChatGPT or Claude to write a first draft of this essay, bring it to class, and as humans, we're gonna go through it and critique it. Right? So we're using critical thinking in an application of leveraging AI for what it's good at. I think we need more educators who think that way as a way to, how do we really learn how to use these tools as well as learn their limitations? And then as far as soft skills, we already have a problem with soft skills. This isn't an AI problem. This is a age of the internet issue, right? So to me, again, it's a broader question of how do we update the way we think about education to overtly bring soft skills into the mix. I think we focus so much on educating kids on hard skills because of the labor market. Hard skills are not what's gonna get you a job. Every single job I've ever gotten has been through my network. Every single one. I have never applied for a job cold that I have even received a call back on. So if it's up to us as parents as educators, it's up to us to push for our schools to think about how we restructure our curriculum to include soft skills as overt training, to encourage that in the classroom. But again, that's not an AI issue. That's a internet age issue that we're already facing. So I think it's going to accelerate. So the sooner we address it, the better. But again, I don't think that's inherently because of AI. I think it's technology writ large.
I agree that I'll take this in as input.
Just a follow-up comment if I may. So I have two of my kids that are at Flower High School, and they have not figured this out, right? The kids are in digital silos. How do you encourage them to interact the way people used to do before digital silos existed? A lot of it comes from parental guidance, but trust me, it ain't easy.
Well, that's, again, I'll go back to we need more sociologists, we need more social scientists, we need more anthropologists who are helping to guide us.
There's no market demand for those professions.
I think maybe AI is going to usher in a new era where, again, coding skills, AI can code for you. Do you need some expertise in coding in order to run a series of, agents that are coding? Sure. What we're missing in the workforce is people with social science backgrounds. And I think we're actually going to see a swing back to an emphasis on social sciences and English and writing, written communications, not just English, but written communications. I think we're going to see an increased demand. So for all of you who have high school age students and we're telling them, go into tech, you might want to tell them, go be an English major, go into a social science. I do believe there is going to be an increased demand in those industries because that is the missing piece in building technologies that people can actually use.
Wow, how lucky have we been today to be with these incredible experts. I don't know about y'all, but I am like, oh my goodness. Okay, thank you. Okay, really quickly, I'm just gonna go down the line. Does your AI assistant, have you named it?
I haven't, but my husband has named his ChatGPT Chatty G.
Chatty G, okay.
That's how he references it.
Have you named yours? No, not really. Oh, they haven't named them. Okay. Well, that's y'all's assignment today. Go back and name all of your assistants and those things. Give them a name. You all, thank you for being here today. Thank you for partnering with the Chamber. Thank you for being here in Flower Mound. Thank you to the town. Go out and make it a great day.